Alright guys, welcome to our lecture about the demographic transition model. And really what we're looking at with this model is change across time. And specifically we're going to look at 4 different numbers. We're going to look at crude birth rates, which is number of births per 1,000. We're going to look at crude death rates, which is the number of deaths per 1,000 people. We're going to look at natural increase rates, which is the difference between the crude birth rate and the crude death rate. And then we're going to look at just what are population numbers doing in general. So we've already covered several of your vocabulary words just to make sure that you're following along and that you get those definitions. We're going to start out with stage 1 for our crude birth rates and our crude death rates. And for stage 1, they're both high. They're up and down, just depending on the fortunes of the year. So it might be a good year, right? There's plenty of food, there's no drought, there's no pestilence, no disease running around. So lots of people are born. Bad years, the exact opposite. There's epidemic diseases, there's not enough food, there's a drought, there's too much heat, you name it. And by high, what we mean is 30 to 40 per 1,000. Okay. Our death rates are going to follow pretty much the exact opposite. Okay. So population is going to be growing, but it's going to be growing slowly. It's going to be growing slowly. And geographers use more than just birth and death rate to decide and classify if a country stage 1 or stage 2. So geographers say that there are no stage 1 countries. This might change if you look at a different discipline and a slightly different definition. Just be aware of that. Okay? So there are no stage 1 countries. In stage 1 countries, though, if there were any, somewhere between 95 and 99% of people would be engaged in agriculture. And not just any agriculture, but subsistence agriculture. In other words, they'd be growing just enough food to live. When countries hit stage 2, and really this is the start of the Industrial Revolution, what you see, the most important piece of this, is a dramatic tail off in death rates. As there's more food, people live longer, we start to see better public health. And public health, by the way, are things like safer water supplies, higher quality food. Birth rates, though, they stay high because there's a lag time, right? Over here, parents are having lots of kids because they want to make sure at least some of those kids grow up to become adults. Over here, more kids are growing up to become adults, but the parents just haven't quite caught up to it in terms of the mentality. And our natural increase here, which is the difference between births and deaths again, okay? What you should be able to see is that this is a fairly dramatic difference, okay? Especially like towards the beginning, it's super low. Towards the end of stage 2, it's really very high. It's really very high. And the result, in terms of our population numbers, is that our population numbers are through the roof. They're going up and going up quickly. Okay, and if you're familiar at all with Thomas Malthus, Britain was in stage 2 when he was writing. Okay, and Malthus is the guy who said we're going to outgrow our ability to grow food in terms of our population numbers. Stage 2 countries these days, really what we're looking at for the most part is sub-Saharan Africa. The one exception to Africa below the Sahara is South Africa. South Africa is actually a stage 3 country. You can make an argument for some of Southeast Asia being stage 2, kind of the end of stage 2, nudging towards stage 3. But I'm going to go ahead and, for simplicity's sake, put Southeast Asia over here in stage 3. Stage 2 countries, what they're doing though, in terms of what industries are people in, they're in mostly in agriculture. Okay, we're still looking at roughly 75% agriculture, 80% agriculture, but those numbers are going down quite a bit. Okay, over here we were 95 to 99, here we're 75 to 80. And the reason for that is that agriculture is becoming more efficient. You can get more food with fewer people growing it and less effort put in, and that's because the machines are doing more of the work. And as that happens, what we see is more and more people are freed up to work in manufacturing. So that's where all those folks are going, is they're going to go work in factories. They're going to make stuff. And that factory work is going to become increasingly automated. Stage 3, what we see in here, the big difference for stage 3 is our birth rates go down dramatically. Our death rates continue dropping, but nowhere near the same rate. Nowhere near the same rate. The result with our natural increase rate, okay, again, births minus deaths, is that that number goes down fairly dramatically, reasonably quickly. For our population, what's going to happen is it's going to continue to go up, but it's going to go up at a lower rate. Okay, stage 3 countries. This is, again, South Africa. It's all of Latin America. It's all or most of Southeast Asia. It's the Middle East. Okay. It is really a large part of the world. Okay. And when we're talking about what economic activities are people engaged in here, there's a handful in farming. Really now we're down to somewhere around 50% or less. Okay. There's a lot more in manufacturing, somewhere around maybe 40%. And then we're having more and more people shift into that services sector. And services are all those things that you don't want to do, so you pay other people to do. It's painting the house, it's mowing the grass, it's cooking your food, doing your laundry. Okay, all of those things that you can contract out. And there's an increasing growing demand as people have more and more money. And more people are freed up to have money because agriculture has become more and more efficient. Stage 4, what we see, birth rates start to tail off and level out. Death rates more or less level out. And our natural increase rate starts to approach 0. Okay. And that's that magic 0 population rate. So our population at the start is still going up, and then it kind of levels off. And stage 4, these are our developed countries. Okay, we can make an argument with China about whether it's stage 3 or stage 4, and it really depends on how you do the defining. India for sure is stage 3. Stage 4, the United States, by almost everybody's standards, is stage 4. Most of Western Europe is stage 4. Okay. Oh, by the way, these guys, increasingly service-oriented. So like in the U.S., we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 to 3% of people who work in agriculture. Probably 15 to 20% of people work in manufacturing of some form or another. And the remaining 72%, 73% are all engaged in some kind of service activities. And the more you move along this development, the more of those service activities move from the low end, the grass mowing, the house painting, things like that, to the high end, okay, to working for Microsoft and the like. Pardon me. Those information services. Stage 5 is hypothetical, but I'm going to include it because I think we're there, and I think you need to know about it. And stage 5 is really weird, because what we see happening, our death rates level off, maybe go up a little bit. Okay? Our birth rates continue to drop down a little bit. And now our natural increase rate is negative. In other words, populations are shrinking. Populations are shrinking. More people are dying than are being born. And that's a problem. That's a problem. Okay? And it's a problem because elderly people require help. They require help. The same as down here, stage 1, stage 2, with lots of little people, lots of kids, right? They require lots of help too. Over here, we've got lots of elderly people. Okay, over here, we've got lots of elderly people. So most of our deaths over here are from chronic illnesses which are to say things like heart disease, cancer, diseases that tend to manifest themselves either when you're older or are carry you across time and only kill you slowly. Okay, but these people require help. They require pensions, right? You got to have money to live on, and it's not like the elderly can work the way they used to. But they also just require help doing some of the everyday things, right? I don't know about you, but the idea of my 80-year-old grandma pushing a lawnmower, not such a great idea to me, right? They require help doing really, depending on the person, could be almost anything. So could be mowing the lawn, it could be monitoring to make sure that they're taking their pills or getting the health care that they need, right? Could be painting the house, it could be navigating the internet. But they need help, and if there's fewer people being born, there's fewer people to provide that help, and there's fewer people to make the money to pay into the tax system. And so countries that are stage 5, these are our highly developed countries. Most people work in information or management services, which again, that high-end service sector economy. And I would make the argument stage 5, I think we can place Japan there. I think South Korea can go there. I think parts of Western Europe, specifically in the Scandinavia region, can go there. And again, it's really tricky. Like countries stage 4, leaning this way, this birth rate, about, or this natural increase, sorry, yeah, 2.1. That's the magic number. That's the population replacement number. Okay. For a natural increase rate. These guys, it's more like 1.1, 1.4, and that's, I know it doesn't sound like a big difference, but it's a big difference when you look at sheer numbers of people. So that's our lecture about the demographic transition model. If you have questions, come see me during class, and otherwise I guess I'll see you tomorrow.